Off day for the Chicago Cubs. We're going to recap what happened against Cincinnati. While the Cubs are struggling right now, some signs of life from some of their key players, including Cody Bellinger. What's it going to take for the Cubs to get things turned around? All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Let's talk about the Cubs, everybody. Here's your invitation to the channel, and we appreciate all of you guys for being here today. Go Cubs! Say everybody, Mick Gillispie, welcome to the Cubs Baseball channel at Broadcaster Mick on the socials. And it has been really fun to connect with you guys, whether it be Facebook or on Twitter or wherever. But let's talk about the Cubs because there's a lot to get into right now, including the 5-2 loss Sunday at Wrigley Field against the Cincinnati Reds. And another one of those games where the Cubs offense just couldn't get much done. And before the game, David Bodie was promoted back to the big leagues from Iowa. Nick Magical was sent back to the minor leagues option there. Some of you guys thought maybe he would be designated for assignment, but look, you're paying him. You might as well have him there. And, and honestly, I mean, what's it going to hurt? You know, he can go down there and play. And David Bodie, very humble David Bodie, hasn't been in the big leagues since 2022. He's a guy that I really thought would have been up at some point last year, had a great spring training, and it just felt like for some reason they didn't want him there. It just felt like that. And it didn't have anything to do with playing baseball. It felt like, man, I don't know. It's just, and you guys kind of, and somebody might tell me eventually, like off the record, hey, here's why I didn't bring him up. I don't know. But he was good enough to be on the team in the past 2 years at some point, although he wasn't on the 40-man roster. Well, he's back on there again and had an RBI in the game. But you got to bring people up because you want that energy that they bring to the table. And this Cubs offense is lacking energy right now. But it was really Ben Brown coming off of that no-hit performance that had a bad outing, gave up a bunch of runs early. The Cubs really felt like they weren't in it. I mean, he pitched 5 innings total and kind of recovered, but gave up 5 runs on 6 hits. And it seemed like Cincinnati jumped on him at that 4 spot in the second inning and then dominated. Nick Lodolo was too much for the Cubs' lacking offense right now. And what I'm wondering is, if you didn't let him pitch 100, in that no-hit effort, you had to get him out of the game, and this happened. So should you have brought him out after 80, 75 pitches, 70 pitches? What's the number of pitches that it's okay that you stay in a game and then you're going to be good the next time? The true answer is all that stuff is up here. Those imaginary numbers and all that stuff, it's malarkey. Go out there, and if a guy's having a good game, you let him go. If he's struggling, you bring him back. That's what I think. That's how baseball was played for 100 plus years. And there were a lot of great games in there and a lot of great pitchers. Brown had a bad game, and that's going to happen. And it had nothing to do with how many pitches he didn't throw or he did throw his last time out. But, hopefully he'll be able to bounce back his next time around. And that's going to happen in the big leagues. I mean, you're talking about, the best players in the world. But going into it, I thought, man, this is going to be a great matchup. Ben Brown, Nick Lodolo, and instead it was really a lot of Lodolo and not much Brown in the game. But give the guy credit for giving you the 5 innings that you needed so that you didn't blow out the bullpen. And with the off day, you want to get guys rested. This is more concerning to me, though, than anything else, and that's that the Cubs lose their 6th series in a row. Remember, they were the only team that hadn't lost 2 series in a row, and then all of a sudden they have now lost 6 series in a row, like 6 series in a row. How's that happened? But things have fallen off. All those guys got healthy, and then they got back to the big leagues, and healthy has meant that they're not producing. except now we're starting to see some production from Cody Bellinger, which I think is a good sign. He had 3 hits. He's got the average up to 265. The Cubs are paying you $30 million. I mean, you're the guy on offense. You and Dansby Swanson. And I guess the frustrating part is when you can't drive in runs and when you're not hitting with men on base and knocking in guys, and you see some of the price tags that are out there, and you're going, okay, would it have made a difference if you did this or you did this or you did this? I don't know. But this team's going to continue to go this direction if they're not getting production from guys like Bellinger. So that's a good sign that Bellinger's starting to get back. Seiya Suzuki, struck out 3 times in the game, dropped the ball a couple nights ago, did hit a grand slam. It just feels like the Cubs are going to have to look for other options if some of these guys don't start performing at a higher level. Dansby Swanson's hitting 203. I mean, think about that. And to me, I just keep hearing him in the offseason, pressuring the front office to make moves and all that. Should have been working on batting practice. should have been taking swings instead of worrying about who the front office was going to sign. So I don't know. Like a lot of offers on this lineup right now as the Cubs try to improve. But losing 6 series in a row is something that's going to keep getting you going back the wrong direction. They're now 2 games under 500. And part of this, and Anthony was talking about this to me, is that the Cubs have been horrible against the NL Central. Well, so 7-12 against the Central. You got to beat the teams in your division. I mean, that's just how it is, right? And you're talking about losing series to the Cardinals, to the Pirates, to the Reds, to the Brewers. You don't play them as much as you used to. But you want to know why the Brewers are in first place? Look at their division record. They beat up on all the teams that they got to beat up on. We're not to the All-Star break yet. And it's not like you have to circle the wagons, per se. But it's getting to that point right now when you look at the percentages of what this Cubs team is going to do. Now, all of a sudden, they're under 50% to make the playoffs. And I know that this could be the worst stretch of the season. And I hope that it is. I hope this is the worst stretch that the Cubs are going to play is right now. That's what I'm hoping, right? And that they're at 49%. But there's really no telling, because if they had gotten half of what they've gotten out of the bullpen, right? If they'd gotten just half better than what they've gotten, they'd be fine right now. And now you got the bullpen and also the offense that's, struggling, and they just can't get a big hit. Like, it's like every game you're waiting, and when you're waiting for the big hit, it doesn't come. I don't know why. I mean, you look at these batting averages, and it's like Morel batting 195 now. You put Wisdom in the lineup, he's batting 220. Swanson's at 203. Michael Busch pinch hit and walked, but he's batting 241. The catchers are both under 200. Miguel Amaya's batting 186. I mean, it's like there's got to be more production from this lineup. And it puts, I'm sure, a lot of pressure on the guys like Bellinger and Suzuki, because no one else is really hitting at this point. And I'm wondering, are the Cubs looking at what's going on around baseball? You saw Seattle just got rid of their bench coach, Brent Brown. You guys know that name. And he was like the hitting coordinator and the bench coach, and they got rid of him because the team's not hitting. Are the Cubs ready to shake things up? And that was the show I was talking about yesterday. Like, you're getting to the point now where something's got to change, or this is going to be a season where you're selling and not buying at the deadline. And who would have ever thought that? I think that the entire time we've been thinking, okay, Cubs are going to buy. They're going to send some of these guys off. They're going to try to get better. They're going to try to win. All of a sudden, look at the Cardinals, where they are in the standings. Look at where the Cubs are in the wild card. They're not out of it or anything like that, but they're just constantly fading. And the more losses that you have, the more you look at this team and you're like, maybe Bellinger's, kind of where he is. Maybe Suzuki is going to get passed by Owen Casey in the outfield. Ian Happ, I know he's hit some home runs lately, but he's only batting .221. And are you going to bring the guys up that you have in your system, or are you going to make trades? And I think that's kind of where we are right now. And the other thing too is, and I love this about Jed Hoyer, is that he pays close attention to the things that Craig Counsell suggest. And I think that long term, that's going to help the organization. Just having somebody's like, hey, you know what? We got to have the minor league pitchers throw more innings, because we can't just bring them up here and expect them to throw more innings. Like, boom, Einstein. I mean, why didn't we think of that in the first place? Well, you don't want to get guys hurt. And there's been a couple of guys that have gotten hurt. Well, you're going to get hurt, but you got to know how to pitch, or it's not going to help your big league team, And so we'll see what happens. But it's been just a frustrating time watching what's going on right now. With the way that this team has not won. And the problem is that during the course of a season, you're going to have games you're going to lose. I kind of felt like Sunday was one of those games. They got out to a good start. Nick Lodolo was really just hard to hit. And the Cubs never really got any footing in the game. You're going to have games that you win. Where you just go out there and you scored 10 runs and they scored 2 and you're going to blow them out. So there's a pile of those and a pile of those. And then there's a lot of games in the middle where it's like, okay, a couple things happen here, a couple things happen there. Your whole season is based on how you do in those games. How do you perform in the 1 and 2 run games, right? How does your starting pitching do to keep your bullpen fresh? How do you take advantage of situations where you're not hitting, but you're figuring out a way to score runs? And then you put all those together and it's like, hey, we figure out a way to win, or we figure out a way to lose. The problem that the Cubs have is that their bullpen has been such a hole that a lot of those games that they've done a lot of really good stuff to get the lead, they blow it. And you lose. So you lose a lot of the games that you're supposed to win. And then all of a sudden, when the percentages come back where you're going to have those games that you're going to lose, then where are you? Right. So I don't think it's bad luck. I think that, like we talked about before, that they're going to have to look at who they have on the 40-man roster, and they're going to have to figure out who's going to help this organization and who's not. And they either need to trade the people that aren't, or release them, or take them off. And I mean, if somebody else wants them, they're going to lose them. But if they don't, then they'll be able to keep them. Okay. And get some more people up there. I think the David Bodie move was a great move. I don't know what the guy did to be stuck in the minor leagues this long, but he's better than Nick Madrigal. Right? So why wasn't he up there? I don't know. And so hopefully he goes in there, and, it was good to see the effort. I love to see the fact that he was so excited to be back and saying, hey, you know what? I didn't know I was going to get another chance, but I'm going to. The clubhouse needs to be full of guys that are hungry to have success, not scared of failure. And I think that bringing up young guys and kind of cycling them in with the players that you have there, get these stars going again. That's the only chance that the Cubs have. So, look, it's an off day. I think I'm going to do a call-in show here soon with you guys. We'll talk about it, but it's time to regroup, because every time that you turn around and you lose another game and you lose another game and you lose another game, you fall further and further behind Milwaukee. And that's what happened last year, to the point where you got hot and you still never caught them. You couldn't pass them. So that's where this team is right now. Like and subscribe, guys. Get in the comments section, as I always say. Have a great day. We're going to talk a lot of Cubs baseball in here. Bottom line is this. I'm still optimistic that this team is going to have success, but I'm just getting impatient on waiting for that to happen. I think a lot of you guys feel the same way as well. All right, thanks. Go Cubs.